See, this is where we talk about elite status. Elite status separates itself from the pack, but it seems like many people don't recognize. And one of the money aspects when it comes to elite status, I want to talk about the money aspect on this one. The money aspect is geographical freedom. Can you get up with no boss upon your shoulders and do what you want to and as you please and make your money? Or are you tied to a single geographical entity and location? See, this is where we design and draw the line that elite status men separates from the pack. It's not the same. It's not what you've been taught. It's not all these different terms of what everybody else tells you. And it seems like everybody keeps trying to lump themselves into what it takes to be elite status men. Most of these men are not elite status. They're not. These men have one aspect of game. They only lead with their wallet. They only lead with their dick. They only lead with their mouth. And that's it. You need all aspects. You need to lead from all aspects, right? So the money aspect, you have to absolutely develop a fuck you lifestyle. Can you wake up and do what you want when you want? Can you go when you want, where you want, and whenever you want? If you can't do that, you're not yet free, right? So we talk about being elite status. Elite status, it also comes down to the mindset being psychologically dominant with perception. You need perception. You need psychological dominance as well as money. You can't just only have money and then lack the social relationship dynamic aspects which triggers in her mind and attraction mechanisms which most men lack. It seems like most men lack it. This is why I talk about being elite status. This is why I'm elite status man, right? And it's 0.1% men who understand what it takes to be elite status. And elite status men don't put up with the games and the garbage of women or society. He doesn't give a fuck. He lives a fuck you lifestyle, which is why I talk about geographical freedom. Geographical freedom, most people cannot go into a corporation and say what they want to say and think what they want to think. They're trapped. They can't. They can't go in their job and have an opinion. They can't get online and have an opinion. They can't get on anywhere and have an opinion because they're not elite status enough. Elite status men have a fuck you mindset and a fuck you lifestyle. And I'm talking about these things in depth in one of my classrooms, which will be opening up soon. But you can join the free Telegram until then to create this movement. This is a movement because this has to get out to men. This is a message that will transform you. It's not all about money. And that's not an excuse to be broke. Listen to me. That's not an excuse to be broke. You need to be ambitious. If you don't have it yet, you need to be ambitious enough to get it. Right? So this is not an excuse to be broke and stay broke. This is saying that you need to cultivate a lifestyle where you're geographically free. You need enough money. You need enough leverage to be geographically free. Now, it's not even just having a bunch of money. I explained this in one of my videos also. That my grandfather, plus Nolly, he was a 0.1% man. He was an elite status man. He was like James Bond. But he was more of an extremist, extreme poverty. Geographically free. He can go wherever he want. He can go to any land he want. He can do whatever he want. But it was in the poverty portion. So it's not just about extreme poverty, nor is it always just about extreme wealth. Because that is the aspect when it comes to being an elite status men. It's either extreme poverty or extreme wealth. And I chose personally not to live an extreme poverty lifestyle. My father, Craig G. Extremist. Extremist. Elite. So, I grew up around elite men, elite status men, but these men were more of a extreme poverty. I wanted extreme wealth, which is why I chose to take the luxury route. I like luxury. I like chains. I like suits. I like cigars, right? I like fine tailored things. I like luxury. So, that's what it takes to be an elite status men. That's what it takes to be elite status. And people keep trying to define this as something else. They keep trying to define it as flying in airlines. And no, this is about psychological engineering. And this is about masculinity, what it takes to be elite status man, right? So all of these concepts and all of these things can transform you if you truly give it, if you truly understand what I'm telling you. If you actually use the things that I'm teaching you, this will bring you power, right? Because you have to understand how life works. As an elite status man, you have to understand how life works, and it seems like a lot of men don't understand how it works. Life operates in a certain way, highs and lows, ups and downs, but it seems like average men try to escape from the extremes of life and escape how the world works. You can't escape how the world works, right? Average men, they lack in every other aspect, and they keep trying to climb and degrade other people to get themselves up to a certain standard. That's not how it works. So understand me while I'm telling you what it takes to become elite status. It's about power. It's about perception. You need to create a certain amount of power inside of yourself, right? To even dominate the physical aspects, right? So I talk about, number one of the constructs. I talk about, number one, physicality. Number two, psychological domination. I keep talking about how some people train to look cute. An elite status man don't train to look cute. He trained for violence. When bad things happen, you're gonna look at that elite status man, the 1% man, and think, shit. They look at me and say Preem, like, shit, okay, I have to go against Preem. It doesn't matter what it is. So physicality, number two, psychological domination. You can't only be strong without being mentally strong. See, this is where we mess up, and this is where people try and break themselves in. They keep trying to break themselves in to this aspect. I said this was going to be about money. The least status mindset of money. The least status man mindset of how the money aspect should be. Geographically free. But it stems from first having physicality. You need to be able to stand your ground. Oh, if somebody come and try and take your money, then what? You're going to need a certain amount of physicality. Number two, as I just mentioned, psychological domination. If you can't psychologically dominate your enemy, then what good are you? You're not elite status then. Some of you will sit here and try and put yourself in this category of being elite status and being an elite status man, but I'm the one who's telling you what it is. Most of you are not elite status yet. You need to try to become that. Right? That's why I say my grandfather and my father was the absolute thing. It's the absolute peak of elite status man. They were the absolute peak. They had every category. They didn't just lack, right? Now, perhaps my grandfather, he didn't choose to be wealthy. He could have certainly been wealthy if he wanted to. I personally chose to get wealthy, right? So, my grandfather was a hitman. You could think of him as James Bond, Clutch Nolly. He was a real-life James Bond. Now, what is James Bond? James Bond also is an elite status man. James Bond's the elite status man. When you walk in a room, he's psychologically smart, he's intelligent, brave, charismatic, all of the different things. And my grandfather had this, right? So that's why I said, you know what? I actually want to be wealthy. Or I at least want to be geographically free and have some type of income, right? So it's not just about being just so rich and so wealthy and being a billionaire, and this is more about being geographical free. Can I get up and fly across the country when I want to? Can I get up and not be tied to a physical location? Can I have my business and alter my business from anywhere in the world? Elite status men. Can I still be physically appealing and still have combat? Can I be high status and still have high value? Can I still do it all and still be mentally dominating things? Can I still be alpha while still being elite? This is the life of an elite status man. There isn't anything he lacks. And I said, a jack of all, elite status man is the jack of all trades and a master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one. Elite status man is a jack of all trades, better than the master of one. That is the mantra of what it takes to be an elite status man. I will continue to push this movement. This is the absolute movement. You're at the beginning of a saga. This movement is going all the way, and I will for sure make sure that this movement goes all the way. So if you could take any lessons from this, if you could take anything from this, what you should take from it is geographical freedom. Not be tied to a corporation that can come and lynch you. Not be tied to any place. You should be able to get up and go where you want. You should be able to have the income from anywhere across the world. Or you should be physically dominant enough and psychologically dominant enough to stand your ground in any situation. Now, I want to leave you with this. Any corporation, if you cannot go in there and say your opinion, and they would take you off from that corporation or stop your income and stop your money, you haven't yet got there yet. You haven't yet got to the elite status men level. I can get on here and I can say anything. I have a fuck you lifestyle. I have a fuck you mindset. I have an elite status mindset. I have an elite status lifestyle. I can get on here and I can say fuck anything. I can say fuck you. I can say anything. I can get on here and have an opinion. Now, if some of these platforms try and take me off, I build my own infrastructure. I'm like Morpheus from the Matrix, right? Building a whole orchestra, building a whole structure off grid. You need to get to this certain point. And it seems like most of you don't understand this concept. Most of you are lynched and you can't have an opinion. If you were to go into your corporation, your structure, or your job, or your school, or your leader or member of a thing, the second you have an altering opinion, they will lynch you and take you off. You haven't got to elite status yet. So that's what I want to lead you. That's what I want to leave you with. I'll be talking about this in the future. Join the free Telegram, t.me/preemoperations, or the link is in the description, where I talk about these things in depth. These things will transform your life. I'll meet you there.